Hey everybody, how you doing this morning? Good to hear your voices. Good to be with you. Hi, Henry.
Hi, Santita. Passing you through right now.
Mm-hmm.
Size and team developed Tennessee and Memphis Shelby County schools announced it would cancel classes Wednesday. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
And not pay zero I remit at the cost. All right, I'm going to start calling up the pastor right now.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you got 3 days.
And remember, I'm Miss Jackson. I'm old enough to be your mom.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Church and Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy. We are going to have expected to attend the funeral are Vice President Kamala Harris, the mother of Breonna Taylor, the brother of George Floyd. Taylor and Floyd also died at the hands of police, and their deaths sparked passion protests. Pope Francis is in Congo, where this morning he urged residents to forgive those who have harmed them during the decades of violence, forced millions to flee their homes. Francis stressed that forgiving doesn't mean pretending that nothing happened. PayPal will cut about 2,000 jobs, citing the challenging economy. Gas is $3.50 a gallon this morning, up 30 cents in a month. This is AP News. Now to Ukraine. The AP's Charles Ledesma. Ukraine's presidential office says around 5 civilians have been killed and at least 10 wounded in the last 24 hours. Russian forces shelled back in Donetsk, killing 2 residents and wounding a further 6. Regional Governor Pavlo Karanenko has posted images of the aftermath of the shelling, showing huge... Sorry, he's not picking up right now, but I'm just going to keep trying him.
Okay, thank you.
Karanenko says Russia has deploying new military personnel to the region. In the country's eastern Luhansk region, officials report Russian forces have begun expelling local residents from their homes near the front line, so they will not transmit information about Russian forces. I'm Charles. McDonald's sales are up almost 13% worldwide. U.S. sales are up more than 10%. I'm Rita Fowler, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
The latest Chicago weather update. Mostly sunny skies here for today, the high in the 20s. Southwest with dry skies at miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And for tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 18. Thursday, increasing cloud cover, high around 31 degrees. And by Friday, mostly sunny and high around 12. Saturday, partial sunshine at 35 degrees. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Bucci. Currently, it's 6 above.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
Looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
This is WCPT, Moment in Labor. On February 8th, Starbucks in Memphis, Tennessee fired 7 workers who were trying to unionize the company. Starbucks is currently denying these accusations, saying they were fired for security reasons. However, this is not the first time something. Hi, Ms. Jackson. I'm still struggling to get them to.
No, just keep trying because you might.
When an employer tries to delay, disband,
I understand.
a union will do. Just a heads up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. Claire, President
Okay.
Ronald Reagan firing all members of the Confederate
Thank you.
Transit Controllers Organization, of course, on strike. To Amazon firing DeQuan Smith for trying to create the Amazon Labor Union. The latest case of Starbucks firing employees who were trying to unionize. Union busting was made illegal in 1935 with the National Labor Relations Act. Yet somehow, the practices of union busting are still happening today. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
Have you heard? Affordable health care is better than ever. And right now there are more carriers and plans to choose from. If you're between 18 and 64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less, this message is for you. Right now, the government's Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage plans with little or no cost to you. Don't gamble with your health. Call Healthcare for All at 800-337-9047. That's 800-337-9047.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Whether you're in the market for a new policy or need to update a policy, their licensed insurance agents are here to help you every step of the way. For more information, contact Paul Fazio at 815-727-2611 or at FazioInsurance.com. Complicated returns. The ones where most of the big law firms, the high impact income. Those are the returns that the IRS would like to audit, but cannot. Never mind that understaffed agency is unable to process the simple returns of ordinary Americans in a timely manner, so that we have to wait, sometimes for months, for a refund. GLP-1 on the IRS and then its auditors all telling Americans they are a real threat. So, not to you. Not to anyone earning less than $400,000 a year. And if they get their way, income inequality problems in our country will. The powerful will not be asked to pay their fair share of discontent and corruption. Now in 2023, it is time for us to rededicate ourselves to democracy. And whatever small portion of it we can work on, we can work for, we can help fix. Depending upon your life situation, depending upon your resources, that answer is going to be different for everybody. But if you care enough to listen to this radio station, I don't care what the answer is as long as there is an answer. Listening to this radio station is great. It will keep you informed on the issues.
Put a lot of hairspray in today. Ooh. Okay.
2023 to figure out what is the active thing that you can do. Whatever it is, figure out what it is that you can do.
Hi, Ms. Jackson. We have about
Yes.
30 seconds till air. I'm going to still keep trying them in the background, but I'm just going to get our show running right now real quick.
Okay. Very good.
And right now there are more carriers.
And if I'm not able to get them up before
Just let me
15,
know.
you know,
Just let me know. Start trying to get her, but let me know.
Okay, will do. All right, we have 15 seconds. Just heads up.
Don't gamble with your health. Call Healthcare for All at 800-337-9047. That's 800-337-9047.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Get a little feedback here, but we're going to work all of that out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. WCPT 820. This is the first day of February. It is Wednesday, 2023. Can you believe this? Like the year's going by. Woof, 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 and so much is going on. Tyree Nichols will be laid to rest, funeralized today. We're going to be talking about that, really taking apart this case because the story continues to evolve or change. And as the story changes, it not only becomes uglier, the legal implications change. We'll be talking with Attorney C.K. Hoffler about the different charges, and of course, this panel of lawyers, the different charges that would come, and just really the social consequences of this, because people, there's a lot of mistrust of all of the authoritarian figures and institutions in our society. No one trusts the Supreme Court. The overwhelming majority of Americans do not. Everyone feels that Congress is not doing what they ought to do. The presidency is mistrusted. This is a very, very challenging time. And when you have the police who are so close to us, we're with them all day, every day, when you see this kind of behavior, and when you hear the kind of rumors, and the fact that so many of the rumors are trusted, we're going to be talking about that. What does that mean? And do people use the police force as their own personal hit squad? Because that's one of the rumors that's out there, and it's a very dangerous one. But then, as you see, the question is about Preston Hemphill, the white police officer whose actions really initiated all of this. He was in the first stop. He tased, it appears, Tyree Nichols and pulled him out the car. And as he was being chased, he said, "I hope they stomp his ASS." Wow. There's just a lot going on there, everybody. And we want to talk about it on the Santita Jackson Show as he is laid to rest, Tyree Nichols. But these stories are not laid to rest, everybody. People are not at rest. I want you to meet me over here at WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. And hey, Andre, hey, Daryl, and Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia, and Jewel from fabulous New York. And so many of you. Meet everybody on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Philip is over there, and Joyce is over on the Facebook page. And it's just so wonderful to see all of you. Mike down there in Houston, Texas, sending you much love. Everybody, like and share the show. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. Hey, Paula. Hey, Joyce. Like and share the show, please. Like and share the show and continue to tell people about us. Thank you so much for all that you are doing to help the show to grow. So let's get to some of these headlines, everybody. In Chicago, it is freezing. It is absolutely freezing. 26 degrees will be the high today, but right now it's 6 degrees. It's going to be sunny, but it is cold right now, everybody. So please be careful. And if you see anyone in the cold, tell them to go to a warming station, police station. Yes, I said that. A fire station, a library. No one should freeze. No one should freeze. In the NBA, LeBron James got just closer to becoming the biggest scorer in the history of the NBA. That honor belongs to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at this time, but it seems that LeBron is on track to eclipse him. God bless them all. Thank you, Kareem, for all of the thrills you've given us, and LeBron, all the thrills you are giving us today. The Clippers 108, the Bulls 103. The Warriors will be playing the Timberwolves tonight. The CDC is urging people to stop using a certain brand of eye drops while it investigates at least 50 infections across 11 states. A formal recall has not been issued, but officials are looking into how the artificial tears led to instances of permanent vision loss, everybody. Wow. Be careful, everybody. A critical White House meeting is set for today between President Joe Biden and the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, over increasing the nation's debt ceiling. What do you think is going to happen, everybody? Of course, House GOP's allies want steep cuts to domestic programs and a trim to defense spending, all while steering clear of making cuts to two programs that would give them a lot of voter blowback. That is Medicare and Social Security. Meanwhile, House officials insist that they will not negotiate with House Republicans on the need. White House officials said they will not negotiate with the House Republicans on the need for Congress to raise a $31.4 trillion borrowing limit and avoid the first ever debt default in the history of the country. Do you think that's going to happen? As I shared with you a little bit earlier, a funeral service will be held today to celebrate the life of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols, whose death at the hands of police in Memphis, Tennessee, has sparked nationwide protest over this past weekend and a discussion about policing in America once again. Nichols was continuously beaten after a traffic stop by Memphis police on January 7th. He died 3 days later. Representing other Black people killed by police, Tamika Parker, whose daughter Breonna Taylor was fatally shot in her Kentucky home by police during a botched raid in March of 2020, is expected to attend the service along with other parents who've lost their children to police violence or inattention. A winter weather system is impacting a large swath of the western and southern U.S. It's causing flight disruptions all across the country. More than 1,400 flights have been canceled today. Everybody, if you gotta fly, and I have to fly in a couple of days, call the airport and check first. Check. Those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. I want to know what's on your mind today. Call me and let's talk. Let's talk about what's happening with Tyre Nichols and this constantly evolving case. It's just amazing. You know, first it was 5 and then it was 6 cops and now it's the EMTs, it's everybody else. And then there's a rumor about a girlfriend and a jealous boyfriend that, oh my gosh, it's just a whole lot. And then people who just did not give Tyre Nichols any care as he was struggling to live. So many points at which his life could have been saved. Didn't happen, not one time. So let us go to Pastor Darius Brooks. Pastor Darius Brooks, I know we generally have you on Thursday. We'll have you back tomorrow, but I had to grab you today. So many people are so hungry. I want to know, how can people come to your church, Grace Central, and get something to eat?
Good morning. Thank you to Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois, every Tuesday from 5 till 7, and on Wednesdays for the seniors from 12 to noon. We are there every week. So, anybody who needs any food, please, GraceCentral.net, GraceCentral.net. We are here for you. We're here to serve you with service and to the coming of the Lord comes again. So, anybody who needs food, please come to Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. You guys are on the west side, near Hillside, Marywood, in that area. Or the address says South 10216. It's on the west side. So I'm excited about this word today. It's a light to our feet. It's a light into our pathway. Isaiah 26:1-4. In that day, this song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. God will appoint salvation for the walls and bulwarks. Support and protection is what that means. Open the gates that the righteous nation or the mature people that trust my word, no matter what, keeps the truth may enter in. You'll keep him in perfect peace. His mind is trusted in you. Trust in the Lord forever. Santita, if I had to use that thought this morning, I used the thought my resolution will always be his solution. Santita, we're to live all we can. Well, one of the things that we must do is keep the mysteriousness of God in our desires. It will be the best of the best, because we operate in the natural. You do, I do, but wonderfully God's divine plan is spiritual perspective. And he's my authority, and if he's your authority, we become clear as we walk individually together. I often share the Grace Central. We're individually individually together. When we're strong in the Lord, we got to individually be our person so God can really come through for us and really be the authority of our lives. So when we're both on the same place and God is our director, he becomes our authority, one mind, one word, one direction. And communicating in his word to and with each other. As believers, it is how we define ourselves because we're also different. Santita, all of our stories are different, but we share the same pain and it's all hurt. So when we get on one accord with God's word, we come together to fight what ain't like God. Together, that's what our strength is, the life he has created for us through him. I was driving the other day and God gave me this revelation about in the world and we live in the earth. The earth is the Lord, she says, and Peter, the enemy is the prince of the air. Did you catch that? God calls the world the prince of the air. That's the enemy. That's why he says be in the world, but not of the world. God created the earth. So in the earth, however, is how we want to create a godly world within this world. Where there's unity, there is strength. Where there's two or three gathers together in my name, there I will be in the midst. Which means in the earth, those who operate in the word of God and the spirit of God, watch this wonderfully and uniquely, create a different kind of world within this world, in this earth, God's way. First, there's the personal covenant and how we use God's word in our own personal lives. And then the other person has the personal covenant. Then he brings us together, girl. And at that point is when the discipline, accountability, responsibility, and use of God's word's direction becomes our authority because it's not in the wrong that's in the world. It's in our humanness. Romans 7:21 says, I find then the law that every time I would desire to do good, evil is always present. God doesn't test us. He can find out about us. God doesn't test us, so he can find out about us. Santita, God tests us, so we can find out about ourselves. So this creates godly, like-minded family, friends, partners, objectives, worshipers, believers, goals. And God is so cold, he'll teach us how to do wrong right. Did you hear what I said? If you're going to do it with like-minded, wrong, right people, you got to hear the words that are coming out of my mouth. God's purpose is that the earth will be protected and stay the same until he comes. So what's happening, Santita, in the world? I'm glad you asked. How do you make sense out of what's going on with you and me in the world? Want to straighten it out? Want to avoid crazy and pitfalls? Want to have peace and to be kept with perfect peace? The believers to create a God's definition of support and protection of what he promised, which is love, joy, peace, and life in the more abundantly. Santita, we have to surround ourselves with the right kind of people to just fight the good fight of faith so that we can do our part what God has us in this world. And I close with this. Be careful who you hang around. Even if they don't take off you off your square and you find yourself trying to fix something that you shouldn't have fixed in the first place. When we trust and obey, it's only right that you buy the word. He says, in this day, if you trust and obey in this land, in this place, you're going to sing a different song. You're going to have a song with strong people, and even don't care about the fight. Y'all going to fight so well that I'm going to put a protection up against you, but they can't come against you. Here's where he opens the gate to a nation which keeps his truth, my word, they end to end. Because you are doing my word my way, I'm going to keep you in perfect peace because your mind is stayed on me. My resolution will always be his solution.
Amen, 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 amen. Pastor Darius Brooks, the Grace Central Church. What's the address again, and how can we get this food before we bring up Dr. Shanita Knighton?
Santita, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois, every Tuesday from 5 to 7, and every Wednesday from noon till 2. We are here to serve you and have a passion doing it.
God bless you, Pastor Darius Brooks. Now, of course, Dr. Shanita Knighton, infection preventionist. We are now watching the COVID, the extras that we got during COVID, increased SNAP benefits, and just all of the assistance that people needed. That's about to be rolled back, everybody. But in the meantime, what we need to do as we continue to flesh all of that out and what that is going to mean, we also have to look at how should I put it? Just how we can prevent getting infections, how we can do a reset on our health. We're so accustomed to being sick or to hearing about sickness. Every other commercial is giving you a new medicine. You know, Dr. Knighton has been talking to us about becoming the CEOs of our health, but also to imagine health in a new way. That is, imagine health, reimagine it so that you are healthy. Imagine wellness, not sickness. Can you imagine? When you speak of that, I want you to elaborate on it, just how we can change our thinking, our approach to our own health, being in charge of it, and really developing the expectation that we're going to be well, Dr. Knighton.
Good morning, Santita. So that's a very good point. And the thing is somehow we've come to normalizing illness. And an example of that may be is whenever you work, let's say, in a crowded setting and you say, oh, yeah, like such and such sick, such and such out, like, you know, I might have caught what she got. Or I know I know I'm going to get sick too because everybody else is sick. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Meaning, there's been times in my household where some of us has been ill and others have just not gotten sick. And what does that require? That means that someone has been vigilant about their health, knowing that when they are in a vulnerable situation, meaning that they are around others that are ill, knowing when they are having circumstances that could cause them to be ill, they try to do everything to prevent themselves from getting ill. So meaning for individuals that may say, oh my gosh, my job is stressing me out, they may be paying more attention to eating foods that are high in antioxidants and anti-inflammatories just to ensure that their immune system is being kept in balance, knowing that they're up under a tremendous amount of stress. It may be someone deciding to say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and work out because I know I'm stressed out and potentially I know my eating is not right. So it's really understanding that just how Dr. Death used to mention the Swiss cheese model of all of these things needing to work together, all of these things typically are impacted when someone ends up ill, but you don't have to end up ill. There are individuals, believe it or not, that during the pandemic can say, oh my gosh, I spent 2 or 3 years without getting sick. Mm-hmm. And what does that look like? And these are not people that necessarily stayed home. These are people that made sure that they practiced hand hygiene in the correct manner. Mm-hmm. They made sure that they were putting certain things in their diet. And no, this is not a recommendation, but I know people that would be like, hey, I made sure that I drank lemon ginger, you know, on a daily or weekly basis whenever I was sick. So they mixed up some lemon and some ginger, or they juiced it and they drank it because those things are high in vitamin C and they're high in, you know, being able to decrease inflammation. And so people had their own remedies of things that they did in order for them to stay well. And they were able to say it felt good not getting sick. Now, with some of those same individuals that have let their guard down, that have now been exposed to, let's say, the common cold again, to COVID, to flu, they're looking up and they're like, oh my gosh, like, how did I get sick? But then they also can say that they are much more relaxed now than what they were before. And so to your point, Santita, as, you know, this administration begins to say that they're going to cut back on all of those COVID-related benefits come May, when it comes to SNAP, when it comes to masks, when it comes to testing, when it comes to, you know, wanting to inquire about, let's say, minority neighborhoods that might have been heavily impacted, or educational initiatives and different things that they were putting around, you know, individuals to level the playing field when it came to disparities related to COVID. All of that stuff is now getting ready to go away. And so the question is are you going to normalize being sick again? Or are you going to normalize being well, and normalizing being well because you know what it feels like to not be sick, and you know what it's like to feel like there is a threat such as COVID. And so I remind people, think about the energy that we had at the very beginning of March, late February of 2020, where we did not know what COVID was, we did not know the impact, and honestly, we still don't know the impact. And so we have to normalize what activities we should be doing to stop being ill, being the CEO of our own health, and making sure that when we say we don't know what something is keeping that same exact energy of us practicing prevention so we don't get potentially what may be on the rise. And I've said it before, stay ready so we don't have to get ready.
Dr. Shanina Knighton, everybody. Hey, Dr. Nina. That's her handle on social media. Follow her. You're going to get more of this and great information. We need it. Coming up, Tyree Nichols. Let's talk about this evolving story with Joseph Kiles from Memphis, the executive director of Rainbow Push there, and Dwight McKee, who, believe it or not, is a native of Memphis. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Hey, I have a couple of free lines until the top of the hour. You want to hear what Joseph Kiles has to tell us about the latest on this case?
I do. I'm a new because I ain't gonna lie. Yesterday, he also he told me it was the white officer on the scene, and I was looking at them 4 black faces that were plastered on the news and everywhere in media. So it just completely threw me off. So yeah, I do want to know because there's clearly stuff in this case that I'm missing.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in this case that everybody's missing, you know, and that is like, you know, everybody's missing all this stuff. Everybody's missing everything because we're not being told anything. Or should I say we're being given a particular narrative, right? And it's not necessarily correct, which is, you know, why, honey, no. You asked me about my sleep hygiene. This is what you have to sit up. You have to sit up and find the information, you know, because someone's told Dr. Damon Arnold. You've spoken with him before. The former head of our Illinois Department of Public Health. He peeped it. Yes.
We have Dwight McKee, Joseph Kiles, and Chappelle Wells ready to go.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Hi, Chappelle. Hi, Dwight. Hi, Joseph.
Good morning, Santita.
Good morning, everybody. I've got Dr. Shanina Knighton. Joseph, she's someone who, it would be great to get her down to Memphis. I don't know if you've heard, I had not heard about this, but infection prevention. It is a profession, and she is a PhD nurse, and she's one of the infection preventionists she's one of the few infection preventionists in the world. And that is her area of specialty. Yes. And they work very closely with epidemiologists. We need to begin to get her to our churches and to our schools before the Board of Education, for example, in Memphis, because what we're not told is how to prevent infection, how to properly wash our hands, how you're supposed to serve food to the public, for example.
Hi, Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
We have a minute. We're either coming back in 1 minute or 2 minutes. There's
Okay.
something weird going on in the system. I'm going to let you know.
Okay. Okay.
Back in 40 seconds.
Okay, do your thing. All right. But just
Right.
very quickly, there's a way to thank you so much. Thank you, Henry. There's a way to serve food in public, for example. I mean, these are just basic things that she'll tell you about, but she will say things tell you things that will blow your mind. Things that we're doing every day. And she's a young African-American, first person in her family to graduate high school, let alone get a college degree or a PhD. So her own personal story is so compelling. Oh, yeah. And I don't know if...
The school board's the chairman of the school board and county commission and the city council. So if I get an email, I will do that right now.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to connect you all by text. Okay.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Been able to, that's one of the great things that I love about doing the show, being able to connect people together. We've got Joseph Kiles, Executive Director of Rainbow Push in Memphis, Tennessee, one of the leading civic leaders down in Memphis, talking to us about Tyre Nichols. And of course, Dwight McKee, Dr. G, brilliant social scientist, one of the founders of Operation Push, actually. And he's with the National Action Network now. He and Reverend Sharpton are like brothers. Reverend Sharpton, of course, will be delivering the eulogy today. And so we cannot wait to hear from them. And did you know Dr. D is from Memphis? Yeah, he came up here as a little boy, part of this wave of Black people who've just really moved out the South behind all of the domestic terrorism. But, and that is part of the American narrative, part of the American story. In the meantime, we have got Chaparral celebrations by us. Chaparral, we're coming into the football season. Everybody is waiting on this historic Super Bowl. We're going to have, for the first time, 2 Black quarterbacks starting. But everybody, who you got? The Eagles? Who y'all got? I mean, what? I want to know, what do you have, Mahomes, or do you have Hurts? I mean, just talk to me. But you're giving us the food, and I am going to get some of those meatballs and a few other things. I sure am, and I'm going to take them to the party. Chaparral, how can we get some of this food?
Good morning, Santita. Thank you so much for having us this morning. Yes, our celebrations by us. We are gearing up for the Super Bowl as well as also Valentine's Day. So please give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. We can definitely handle your meatballs as well as their sliders, your honey barbecue wings, your hot wings, your teriyaki, garlic parmesan, sweet chili sriracha, whatever it is that you need for the Super Bowl. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to get it done for you. Also, Santita, we are currently promoting our annual Courtney Copeland Memorial Foundation Gala. That is going to be on March 3rd, 2023, and we're going to be at the JLM Community Center, 2622 West Jackson. So give us a call and visit CopelandMemorial.com to purchase your ticket. Thank you so much, Santita.
Oh, you are very welcome. Everybody, Tyre Nichols will be laid to rest today, but the issues that his killing, this execution really that we have seen, those issues are not going away. Indeed, they're more alive than ever. What about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? And what about this ever-evolving story? Dwight McKee, noted social scientist. And let's start with you, Joseph Kiles, Executive Director of Rainbow Push in Memphis. The story keeps, I'm not going to say evolve. It's not evolving, it's just changing. It seems like every day somebody else was involved, didn't help Tyre, might have been the reason that he was killed. I mean, there is so much going on. Where are we now, Joseph Kiles?
Many layers to this story, Santita, and I want to say that Reverend Jackson and I had prayer and a long conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Wells, Tyre's parents, yesterday. Reverend encouraged them. It was a very spiritual conversation, and they were so appreciative and thankful to have the love and support of the community that would say that when something that Reverend shared with them, that while this is a major tragedy in their life and they don't even know how to see past it, because this was Mrs. Wells' only son, very close to her son. He was a loving son, loved his 4-year-old son. He was active in his community. He was not a violent person. He did everything that we teach our children to do. He simply asked, what did I do wrong? We've not seen transparency up to the level of why was the stop made. We heard that it was some driving infraction, but we've not seen that yet. We've not seen the infraction. So there are serious questions on why, first of all, the Scorpion unit was in this neighborhood that was not a high crime area. This neighborhood is pristine, manicured lawns, retired community. This was not a high crime area. This was not a model for the Scorpion unit to even be in. Why were they there 70 yards from where Tyre lived, and he could run and holler for his mother and scream for his mother? Another thing that is interesting, as we see the dialogue that goes between the city and Memphis Police Department, there was a skycop, and the skycop was moving. That means that center was watching this. They were watching this. You haven't gone up the ladder yet. So we need to ask some serious questions about who all was involved. The DA, Morroy, has already said that they are investigating thoroughly, but we need more transparency, and we need to understand why these officers stopped Tyree in the first place.
What is a sky cop? I mean, we're just really beginning to understand all of these, as you said, the different layers here. Because, just what is a sky cop? And then just help us to peel through the layers.
So in areas, SkyCop is an electronic monitoring camera that they put up in neighborhoods that is attached to the 24-hour crime center that's monitored by police officers or police personnel. And so on some of the video, because I have not watched it, I've talked with with deputy police directors, I've talked with some other folks, but they say that if you watch the hour-long footage combined, the SkyCop, the camera at the top on that street where they were under, where the 5 police officers were under, where they were beating Tyree, was moving. It was capturing everything. And so it is there to alert police when there is wrongdoing. There's supposed to have been a supervisor that came on scene. We have not heard for a while what happened with the supervisor, but it all goes back to this more than 20 minutes. After the beating, even when the first responders came, the lieutenant who was in the truck never got out of the truck, never checked Tyree's vital signs. He complained of not being able to breathe. This is a systemic culture of impunity. And so we have to ask these questions. Why are we allowing these special units to patrol? It's Gestapo tactics. In our own neighborhoods, by our own people, treating our own people inhumanely.
We're talking with Joseph Kiles, Executive Director of Rainbow Push in Memphis, Tennessee. Indeed, he is the person who has connected us to Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway, who gave us so much information yesterday, the day before. So much information we received from Memphis attorney Jay Bailey. He is our man on the ground, and he has been letting us know what has been going on. Over the past 24, 48 hours, and quite frankly, I think it's been longer than that. It's just percolated up to the surface. People have been asking, and I don't engage in rumor and innuendo, but this is so far out in social media that it's just something that has to be addressed. And although it has not been confirmed, there have been rumors that this is really that the police were used as essentially as a hit squad. Because one of the police officers was jealous of the fact that his girlfriend or the mother of one of his children or mother of his child, his ex-girlfriend was dating Mr. Nichols. And I think even beyond the rumor, I mean, if you could address the rumor, because people are saying that it's not true. Indeed, Tyree's father came out yesterday and said that's not true. But the other piece is using the police as a hit squad. I think the rumors have gained so much traction, Joseph Kiles, because particularly those of us who are in the Black community, we've lived with the underbelly, if you will, of the police. We have seen them at their best and we have seen them at their worst. So when we see the worst, we are not shocked. We're like, yeah, I've seen this because so-and-so was doing this on the block. Officer so-and-so was doing that on the block. Officer so-and-so was going with so-and-so. I mean, just my goodness. And the whole business of informants anyway. Is, Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch was an informant. I loved Huggy Bear, but when I look back, I'm like, he was a snitch.
That's right.
Kind of hurt me, Joseph.
That's very, very accurate. In order to get to the truth, you have to ask the tough questions. And that's what we're doing as a community. And thank you so much for leading the charge, because we have to be able to trust our media and our press, and particularly African Americans who are committed to getting to the truth. So that the questions, why was that elite unit in that neighborhood? what was the reason for the original stop? C.J. Davis, the chief of police, said that she cannot see at this point, she's not seen what was the reason for the initial stop. And so as things go, Officer Hentil, initially he was not, the information was not given to the public about his involvement. And so it's layers and many layers, and this is what provides distrust. This breeds distrust in the community because we want to know exactly why this young man was stopped. And, you know, just recently we've been dealing, as I said, like many other large urban areas with an uptick in crime, a lot of carjacking, car deaths. Memphis was under, the last several months, we were seeing about 100 cars stolen a month. And so while they talk about the Scorpion unit in terms of what they were able to accomplish, there is some serious questions about abuse and operating in impunity and how many other people were treated like Tyree that we don't even know about.
Amen to that. I mean, and why are people pulled over? Because all these days later, this happened January 7th, we still don't know why. There's no evidence of anything that he did that was wrong.
And he was so peaceful, as people are saying. The only question, and this is what leads me to believe, there's more to the story as we see. The information that shows what we see as the initial stop. What did I do? And they immediately yank him out of the car. You don't escalate from what did I do to snatching a person out of his car. And so as we talk to our children and we advise our children on what to do and how to relate and how to communicate with law enforcement, there are procedures. And so this is why we need national legislation. We need national legislation that will remove qualified immunity when officers are found to do wrong, because you're going to have to challenge the fact that you can do whatever you want. You have impunity, and that the unions and the municipalities and the cities will fight your legal battles.
And pay the cost, and your pension is untouched.
That's right.
That's right. There's something that's real wrong about this, but it lets you know that they're all in bed together. And they're not, the government is supposed to be protecting us, but they're protecting people who are engaging in criminal acts all over the place. It helps you it makes you question, wait a minute, who are you representing? Let me bring up Dwight McKee. Dwight McKee, what do you make of all of this? Indeed, Savannah Beckford said the silver lining is that this exposes how much abuse of power is being allowed from a place of policy. It becomes contagious, and then it transcends race and gender. This is heavily exposing the imbalances.
Well, it sounds like to me, if being a sky cop involved, if he was being tracked, if this was not a random stop and search, then they had tracked from where he was to where he was going. And it really kind of set him up to pull him over. This becomes more and more suspect the more information we have. Because this is starting to look more and more and more like this. It seems as if whether or not the issue is not whether or not he was having an affair with the policeman's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. The issue is whether or not the policeman believed that he was having an affair with his ex-girlfriend. And that takes you in another direction. If that in fact was the case, then this was a vengeance stop. This was a keep your hands off of my girlfriend kind of stop. It escalated. And it makes you understand why this became so personal. This was not a random, you're out of control, I want to make sure that you don't break and run, and that we have you under contain. This was a very personal, very deliberate, very strategic beatdown intended doing something that we don't approve of, and we're going to make it our point to make sure that you understand whatever it is you're about, that we are here to deal with that. And why do I say that? Is because even in a situation where a person runs from the police feel like they're threatened, they seek to arrest the guy, and he's hurt in the process, that when an ambulance comes and the help comes, then they take him and give him some kind of treatment, make sure that he gets to the hospital in time to be treated. So then to come out there for 20 minutes and the police not allow them to treat them and the supervisor stay in the car, says to me is that they didn't want him necessarily to be treated and to get well. And they had no regard for his life or his safety. And it was complicitous because had they been able to get into the hospital in time and been able to save him, it may have been a different story, but they allowed him to bleed out. So to me, that was ransom disregard for his life. And there was some emotional investment in him not making it and him suffering. This thing is much, much, much deeper than the surface would indicate.
Dwight McKee, everybody, social scientist, and Joseph Kyles. It really does feel very personal, and it makes one question the subjectivity of police officers. Right? We expect them to be fair and to walk into a situation and not choose sides. I mean, theoretically, that's supposed to be the case, even though we all choose sides. But the question is, your biases, we all have them. We all have prejudices. The issue is, what do you do with the second impulse? Because, okay, you might say, okay, now I favor this, but, I need to step back and listen. And maybe it's me because I'm from a family of 5 kids. And my parents said, no, we need to hear it all. Then we, the two of us, this 2-person jury, we're going to make a decision. But we're not going to jump to a conclusion. We're going to arrive there. But we need to hear it all. And we have to come up with a solution that keeps peace in the house.
I agree. I think what Brother Dwight brings to bear is the fact that these first responders, that is a very critical issue. You have to separate yourself from whatever relationships that you might have in dealing with police, but it's your job, your scope of services. You took an oath to value life. And I have many friends who are first responders, who are firemen and EMTs, and they said had they been on that unit, regardless of the officers, they would have taken charge. The moment that they come on the scene and there's a person that's injured, they are in charge now. No longer are the police. And they would have admonished the police.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I've never heard that before, Joseph. Say that again. Yes. That when the first responders explain that. Say it.
When a fire or police are called to the scene and there is a victim, and that victim is in trauma, now police have to step back if the scene is secured, if there is no threats. And the scene was secured because he was sitting there on the concrete, beaten half to death in handcuffs. It is the fireman or the EMT. It is their scene at that point. And they control and tell the police to step back, and then their first job and their only responsibility is to give care to that patient. And that is a major breakdown, and that's what Brother Dwight has shed that light on. And I'm sure that the legal team and the city already knows the jeopardy that has happened after the beating, because Tyree's life could have been preserved had they been able to give him the kind of necessary treatment and then get him to our level 1 trauma center, which is the med. They took Tyree to St. Francis Hospital, which is a geriatric hospital.
Wait. What? Wait. Are you serious right now?
Yes, they took him to the closest hospital, which was out in East Memphis. And I say again, this neighborhood was not a high crime neighborhood. This neighborhood was not a neighborhood that the Scorpion unit should have even been in. And I'm sure that they're going to look at statistics and find out how many car thefts, how many houses were broken into, how many vandalisms were going on in that neighborhood. And if that was low, then why were you in that neighborhood? And they took him to the closest hospital, which is St. Francis Hospital, which is not a trauma hospital, which is not trained. They don't have the physicians. They don't have the doctors. They don't have the specialists. They should have treated him on the scene, immediately got him to our level 1 trauma center, which is Regional 1, which is one of the best trauma level centers in the world. I mean, everything that there was a breakdown at every stage when we talk about being a community and being a beloved community. Where this young man was targeted, it seems like he was targeted. He was beaten. He was left with no treatment, and then at the very last minute, they got him and they put him in a hospital that was not fully equipped to handle the level of trauma that he had undergone.
That is unbelievable. They took him to a geriatric hospital. Oh my gosh. Dwight, I got a couple minutes. Well, about a minute for you. And then, Joseph Kyles, what?
And that's what makes it sound conspiratorial, Santita, is that it's just too many quote-unquote coincidences that, as Brother Kyle said, that they had no real business in the neighborhood. It was not a high-crime neighborhood. Secondly, they're not a unit that deal with traffic stops. That's right. The purpose of that crowd. A specialized unit that deals in high-volume crime. A traffic stop is not a high-volume crime. Thirdly, again, the fact that there's a sky cop. You usually only use sky cops when you're dealing with drug busts. The helicopter is flying over a drug house. And so the sky cop would be tracking him from where he left to where he ended up. And what makes it a sky cop is there's always somebody in the station that views a monitor of where the helicopter is flying or where the drone is flying. And so this combination of elements suggests that this was a very deliberate act. And the way the policeman, the white police, ran up to the car and yanked him out with no explanation suggests that they were already predisposed to jacking this young man up. And then he said, I hope they stomp his ass. The only reason that the man ran is because they were stomping him.
Well, and you know what? And wait a minute because Joseph is going to have to go in about 2 minutes. And they were in an unmarked car, right?
They were.
And so he didn't know if he was. Well, talk to me, because I would think that if you're in an unmarked car and you're not readily identifiable as police, I'm being carjacked.
They were in an unmarked car and they were plainclothes officers.
Oh wow!
And that's why I think this was all a setup. Guys, before you leave, you come from such a profound family. I was raised with Dwayne and Dwayna, and my mother and Reverend Billy Kyles were like best friends, and we were all kind of raised together. Yes, sir. Well, you just come from a tremendous legacy.
Absolutely.
And you Dwayne, my best.
Well,
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that.
And we just have to say that it was Reverend Kyle's house that Dr. King, Hosea Williams, and Reverend Abernathy, Reverend Jackson, Ben Branch, the whole staff are on their way to get a fabulous meal cooked by Mrs. Gwen Kyles, who's gone on to glory. And Reverend Kyles has gone on to glory as well. And what a fantastic family you are, all of you, and you just continue to serve down through the generations. And you're a push baby, and now you're a push man. So here you are. We have about a minute left. What do you want us to know as you are on your way to the funeral today, Joseph Kyles?
Well, first of all, I'm thankful to have the love and support of such such a wonderful community. But in my conversation with Reverend Jackson yesterday, listening to him speak to this family and give them a very spiritual blessing over the phone, I think about Mrs. Wells and the pain that she's going through, and Mr. Wells. And what they wanted people to remember about Tyree is that he was such a kind person. He'd never been in an argument. And you hear parents say things about their children, but not only did the parents say that, every person that knew Tyree that was close to him said he was a gentle soul. He had never been in a fight. His brother said he'd never been in a fight in his life. And so to have something come and a sense of evilness to come and attack him, he was overwhelmed. And we just cannot stand by in the community. We are supposed to fight and speak out for the least of these. And Tyree was such a gentle soul. He did not deserve it. No one deserved it. And so we just are thankful that to have you all continue to pushing and fight. And I'm thankful to be able to call on my mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and have those conversations and understand that he has continued to stay in that fight and lift people and fight for the nation, not just Tyree.
Joseph Kiles. Hey, Joseph Kiles, everybody, Executive Director of Rainbow Push Memphis, everybody. Let's pray for the Nichols family. And coming up, legal Q&A with CK. What are the legal implications of all of these various scenarios? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Oh, wow. Joseph, thank you for that. I mean, whew. I did not know.
Thank you all so much.
Well, I didn't know that once the first responders come on the scene, it becomes their scene. Didn't know that.
It's their scene.
Did not know.
There's no violence and the threat is seized and there's no threat. It's the first responder scene at that point.
Didn't know that. Did not know that.
So much.
No, look, you keep dropping all these pearls of wisdom on us. He does, doesn't he? It sure does.
What do you think? You sound just like Dwayne on the phone.
You do.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. He and I were on a call yesterday, so I'll talk with him and tell him I get a chance to talk with you. Thank you for your wisdom, and I'd love to be able to communicate with you more after this.
Tell him I'm going to get his lawyering self on this show. I sure am.
Please do.
That's right. Since he went into show business after all that money his parents spent to send him to school. Oh my gosh! Don't get me started about Mrs. Kiles talking about that.
One other thing, Tawana with her school colleagues have started the Memphis 13 Foundation. So Santita, you should have her on at some point because part of their engine and what's driving their scope is conflict resolution in K through 12 schools. And Representative Hardaway and I are sponsoring a bill to honor one of our best legislators to pass, Barbara Cooper, and it's the Barbara Cooper Act that deals specifically with teaching conflict resolution in public schools.
Well, you know what? Send me Duana's number. I mean, it's Duana Kiles, great songwriter, artist, and I just remember her being so precise that she would direct the choir at my.
That's right.
I was like, she's doing the robot, or is she directing the choir? Look, those are my girls. My girls. I love Jashina, Duana, Dwayne, and Devin. Those are my people. That my parents would not let us spend the night anywhere but with Mrs. Kiles. I'm serious. My mother did not allow us to spend the night. So, when we got to Memphis, we had hotel rooms, but we stayed over there at the house on Parkway, South Parkway East. That's where we stayed. Yeah.
That's right. You got a great memory.
Oh no. I was No. Olympic pool and a tennis court. Hello, and a basketball court. My brothers couldn't get enough. And poor Mrs. Kiles, she was so patient with Jesse, Johnny, and Yusuf, who were little terrorists. as she was constantly making food and y'all just have fun. And my brothers were like, yeah, whoo, jumping in the pool, jumping out the pool, playing basketball, jumping off the basketball court, playing tennis. Oh, all day. Oh, honey, we were down there for a week at a time. Loved it.
That's beautiful. I wish stay connected, and I would do the same things for our children.
Oh man, I miss that. I miss that. Love you, hon, and we're gonna have you back.
All right. Okay, please. I'm happy to.
Oh yeah, thank you.
All right.
Oh, Dwight, you're bringing back all these memories. Oh,
Yeah, a lot of memories.
Oh man.
Hi, Ms. Jackson.
Yes, yes.
We have Attorney C.K. Alper, Attorney Aaron Connolly, Attorney Mark Francher, and Attorney Joe Cantwell later.
Okay, we're about to have a good time with this crew. Hey, everybody. Hello. Let me do a mic check. C.K. Hoffler.
Good morning, Santita Jackson.
All right. And Attorney Daryl Jones.
Good morning, Santita.
Attorney Aaron Connolly. I finally got her, but it's been on me because I've been calling her in the middle of the night because I have been so tired. And Aaron, I get tired. I'm glad I finally, because I've wanted you on for like days. What? And then Attorney Fancher.
Good morning.
You're on with Dr. D, Dwight McKee. Now that sounds like a handle for a DJ. Dwight, you got the voice for a DJ. Ow. Dwight. Well, that's not a mic check, Dwight.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Oh, ain't no, that is not a mic check. Thank you. Whew. CK, you know what? Did you hear Joseph Kyles? Huh? That wasn't a mic check. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Oh boy. You know, TJ, why don't you just call in and make your case? You don't have to make it over here. Make your case up here. Call us at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Oh, Joyce, we had so much fun at the Kyle's home. And it stands out to me because my mother was very, very, and still is very protective. And she would not let us spend the night, let alone spend time at people's homes. She was just very, very, very protective. But when we went to Memphis, we stayed at the Kyle's home. I'll never forget that as long as I live. That's how much regard my mother had for Mrs. Gwen Kyles and for Reverend Billy Kyles. She had that, and and the mother rules the roost. So my mother had that much regard for her that she let her children stay with her. And by the time, when we started staying with them, CK and Dwight and everybody, I think Yusef was like 3. So she had just someone who was just coming out of toddlerhood on her hands. And she didn't mind. She was like, no, they're not going to stay in the hotel. They're staying over here. And oh boy, it was we had a wonderful time. We had some wonderful times with them. We really did. Really had wonderful, wonderful times. I'm gonna reach out to all of them because I just want to thank them for that. When people feed the best memories of your life. And those were among the best memories of my life. Among the best.
30 seconds.
So stand by, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to cue it up for you, CK. And then we're going to keep it moving.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stand by. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. I want to hear from you here on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. WCPT, that's right. And everybody's still raving about the mayoral forum. I'm so excited about that. I'm so glad that you all were part of that. Go to WCPT820.com and go to the Santita Jackson and Friends YouTube channel because we streamed it there as well, as did and on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page and on the WCPT 820 page. So tremendous. tipping my hat to the team here at WCPT for putting on such a great event. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from AM 950 Radio in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We're talking about Tyre Nichols, who will be laid to rest today. But the issues that his killing, that his execution have brought forward will not get an easy rest, everybody. Let's get to some of the headlines, everybody. In Chicago, it's about 8 degrees now. Yes, above zero. It's freezing. It's sunny, and the high will be 26 degrees. In Minneapolis, St. Paul is 20 degrees, mostly sunny. In the NBA, LeBron James is closing in on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. He is on the verge of becoming the highest scoring NBA player in history. But who can ever forget Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all the thrills that he gave us, the skyhook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody is great in their own way and in their own era. Congratulations to LeBron James as he approaches this magnificent record. The Clippers 108, the Bulls 103. The Warriors will be playing the Timberwolves tonight. And Tyre Nichols will be laid to rest today, everybody. Reverend Al Sharpton will be delivering the eulogy for the 29-year-old. His family are calling it a celebration of his life. Indeed, when he was pulled over at his traffic stop, he was really developing his gift as a photographer. He had just finished taking photographs of a Memphis sunset. That's who was killed on January 7th. He died on the 10th. But they effectively killed him on the 7th, everybody. He was continuously beaten by these traffic stop during a traffic stop. Inordinately, African Americans are killed during traffic stops. We're going to be talking with C.K. Hoffler on Legal Q&A with C.K. about this issue along with this panel today, so that we can kind of tease out all of the legal scenarios. And let us look at these 1,400 flights that have been canceled today due to weather. Everybody, please call and check and see if your flight has been canceled. I mean, this cold weather, this crazy weather in the western United States and the southern United States is wreaking havoc everywhere we go. Of course, President Biden and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy will be meeting today about the debt limit. What is going to happen? Will the debt limit be raised, or will we go into default? You have some Republicans who push on that. And remember, only one vote can get Speaker McCarthy removed from his seat. The stakes are quite high. Everybody, as we go into Legal Q&A with CK, I want you to reach out to Team Hochberg. Because if you want to sell your home, if you want to purchase a new home, they have a new program, Perks at Work, that will enable you to save a lot of money and to make some money. They're offering everyone their Perks at Work benefit through the end of April, which can save you thousands of dollars as you sell or buy a new home. This is how it works. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor sells your home, they'll reduce their fee up to 1%. That could be a lot of money, everybody. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor helps you to purchase a home, you will receive up to 1% of their commission as a closing cost credit. That's thousands of dollars, everybody. Team Hochberg will credit their loan origination fee, and their affiliated attorney fee will reduce their fee. That's a lot of money. There's a couple that saved close to $9,000 in this Perks at Work program. It could be you, everybody. So I want you to call them at 855-56-DAVID. 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com, 56david.com. That's Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Do you want to save some money? Yes. Do you want to make a little bit of money? That is to say, apply it to your new home. Yes, it can happen. Call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID. That is 855-563-2843 or 56david.com. What about Tyre Nichols? There is so much that we're learning. We just had Joseph Kiles on. Joseph Kiles, who is the executive director of Rainbow Push Memphis, he said, you know, there are many, many things that we're finding out in this case that are disturbing. Among them, we find out that when the first responders arrive on the scene, it becomes their scene. They then, they're in charge, not the police, the first responder, the fire, the firemen, the EMTs, they're the ones who take over the scene. That did not happen on the night of January 7th. Didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? And what about these evolving stories? And what are the legal implications? Okay, if it was 5 police officers, what are the legal implications of that? Okay, but no, we find out there was a 6th police officer who prompted all of this, Preston Hemphill. Okay, so what are the legal implications for him and the other 5? And then we find out about the EMTs who did not take action to help save his life. Legal implications. What about these rumors about the personal nature, possibly, of this execution? Because that's really what it was. We've got a lot to talk about, but it's Legal Q&A with CK, and you've got a tremendous panel of lawyers with you today. You can introduce them and just get right to it. And of course, you've got Dr. D. Dwight McKee, who helps us to understand the sociological, social, cultural, and political implications of all of this. CK Hoffler, go for it.
Santita, good morning, everyone, to our amazing panel. There's so many legal issues associated with Mr. Nichols' murder. So many legal issues. And I just want to make sure the audience understands, when people are talking about the issues, we have to think about parallel tracks. There's the criminal proceeding, which is holding those police officers who are responsible for his death by beating him almost to death. I believe he died, like you said, right there at the scene, because he was not beaten into oblivion. So it's their actions, their violations of police policies and procedures causing criminal activity and criminal liability. That's the criminal track, with the prosecutors that will indict and pursue a case. I believe that's going to happen. You don't know, but I believe it's going to happen. There certainly is enough evidence. And so think about it in the same way that you would think about the police officers that were responsible for the death of George Floyd. That's a criminal proceeding. But when we talk about the legal issues associated with the paramedics, the decisions for people to take him to one hospital and not another hospital, potentially what the hospital should have done when he arrived there. And also, the excessive use of force by the police officer, those are all issues that can be raised in a civil case. A civil case would be a wrongful death case, potentially a medical negligence case, potentially, against various parties for failing to abide by or to live up to or to comply with a standard of care. That's a civil track. So let's talk about where the legal issues arise on the civil track. We talked about the criminal track. Well, at the scene, certainly with the beating, the policies and procedures that were in place, the police chief said that she watched the film herself, and the reason why she suspended them right away and took immediate and prompt action was because there were several violations of internal policies and procedures. And so, from a civil standpoint, when you file a civil lawsuit, when you have cities that settle cases for civil cases and pay money. In criminal cases, you go to jail. In civil cases, you pay money. It's because there have been violations of policies and procedures. That could be one reason. For instance, in that circumstance, when there's a traffic violation, do you beat someone to death? The answer is no. There is no way, no how, no explanation, no justification that would warrant beating someone to death for a traffic violation, even if they run in sleep. So that's one. The policies and procedures in place. Another thing, the number of police officers, that unit, which is supposed to be a highly trained unit going into infiltrating the community to try to stop, serious crimes, not traffic violations, but serious crimes. There are probably violations of policies and procedures related to that, so they've been there in the first place. But then let's talk about, so we get to the beating. Many violations that would be outlined in a civil complaint because the damages were what? Is death. So that would be laid out in the civil context. But then we go beyond that. The emergency responders, the first responders that got on the scene, who was supposed to take control and administer medical attention to him? You don't sit around and talk and pontificate when someone is dying there in front of you when you're a first responder. You must go into immediate action. There are protocols there. Again, things would be raised in a civil context. Potentially criminal, but definitely civil context. When you sue
First responders, it's usually, the ambulance, the EMS. A lot of times you see that in a civil case. Then we go to the decision to take him to, I can't even say geriatric facility, a facility that clearly, when he is, and they have to assess him, and they have to make a decision right there where to take him. Now, a lot of times first responders will take you to the first facility based on how they think your condition is. But when you have major trauma that was evident to the naked eye, and there's a trauma center that's close by, conditional wisdom and judgment would be that you would go to that trauma center. That's another legal potential area for legal liability. The decision to take them to a geriatric facility. Now, these are first responders, so they know what the facilities are good at. That's the part of their training. If they didn't know that, there's an issue with their training. There's an issue with negligent hiring. Because if they had people who were novices on the team and didn't know what they were doing, that's going to be an issue as well. Or the EMS, or all of their supervisors. So once he gets to this geriatric facility, a facility that's not equipped at handling his condition, there could be medical negligence. Again, this is a civil issue. What's medical negligence? Well, those doctors, those nurses that are on duty have a duty to administer care, proper medical attention and care according to a standard of care in their profession. When you see someone who is in a condition and you want to stabilize them, but if there's a facility that's cross town that is better suited at treating him because you all don't have the facility to do that, then potentially there's a duty that would kick in that they would have to transport him if he's able to be transported. There could have been medical reasons why he may not have been able to be transported immediately, but they may have had a duty. What kind of care was he administered? Would it be delayed? All of that would be in the medical records, because you can look at the time he came in, the care that was administered, who did what, where, and when. These are all civil liabilities. So in my impression, based on the evidence that I've seen, he should have been transferred to another facility that is equipped at handling trauma. Actually, one of the best, not in the state, in the country. And so those, Santita, are some of the legal questions associated with the actions, both civil and criminal. I predict that a criminal proceeding will happen very quickly. The civil part of it, and I think very quickly in the context of, police officers being indicted, because the chief of police has been very, very responsive, very responsible, very fast in her triage of this. And quite frankly, now we see that it can't be done quickly. We don't need months and months and months and months and years in some instances to review and take to determine whether there's been a violation, a deviation, whether criminal charges should be brought. The prosecutors should look at it. A lot of this in some instances is political. So now we're seeing the political machinery working the way that it should when there is clear excessive use of force, clear abuse of power, clear neglect in terms of medical attention, and all of these things. So people, I believe, in this instance, will have to be held accountable, and more than likely will be held accountable. And it's sad that this happens over and over and over and over again. Like a broken record, I've done so much legal analysis on these types of cases until I wish I didn't do analysis on these types of cases. But, Santita, we have an extraordinary panel that look at these types of cases from different standpoints. We've got Dale Jones, who's the chair of Transformative Justice Coalition. He's a great civil rights lawyer. He's a great criminal defense lawyer. He's a great social justice engineer. He's a great voting rights advocate. He and Barbara Online have done with no organizations, at least a new organization, taking a page out of what your dad has set forth in terms of voting rights advocacy and working closely with all of the voting rights advocates.
Okay, now CK, you're sounding a little muddied. I just want to make sure you sound clearer. Okay.
Okay. All right. Let me adjust that.
Okay, perfect.
So Dale Jones, I was going to ask Dale Jones' comment.
Okay, and Daryl, everyone, we've got to be out of here in about 7 minutes. So I want everyone, if you don't mind, limit your comments to just under a minute.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Santita, and good morning, CK. You're absolutely right. The summary that you're given of what's happening here with this case is just spot on with Terry's case. The big thing I think that's going to come out, one of the big things that's going to come out is that you're going to see a lot of negotiations going on for both the criminal side as well as the civil side is what I would suspect. And a large part of that will be because, if you get to the civil part of that, once you get into the discovery aspect, that's when you're going to be finding out all of these rich details that have not been disclosed, not only with regards to the 5 officers that were charged with the murder, but additionally information with regards to the patterns and practices of the police department. All of that will become an issue in a civil trial, and they're able to disclose and discover all of that information. When we go through the criminal side of this, we're going to be getting some of that information, but not nearly as much information as we'll receive on the civil side of it. So as this case proceeds, I anticipate that what will happen is that the city of Memphis will be trying to limit their exposure, because they've already have great financial exposure, but they're going to try to limit that exposure by trying to push this case toward a settlement and not have what I call an Emmett Till moment, where they open up the casket and they see everything that's in that Memphis Police Department's policy with regards to pattern of practices regarding these types of cases. So that's what I anticipate happening in this particular type of situation with these officers.
Okay, Aaron Connolly, your thoughts?
Well, good morning to all the morning stars out there, and thank you for having me this morning. I think TK and Daryl described the issues really well of the differing responsibilities we have. We have the officers, we have the EMTs, we have medical professionals at the hospital, and ultimately everyone breached their legal duty of care of this young man. And as he's laid to rest today, let us think about how we can best shine a light on the smaller corners that are cut when we see duty of care being breached, right? This is a system that builds on itself. When these small injustices are let to stay, what we see is a system that allows this type of predatory behavior by the police department, by the EMTs that show up to the scene, that don't question what is happening, that don't administer care immediately. So this is not something that just occurs in a city like Memphis, but many cities and municipalities across the country. So those system issues are going to be what can prevent this next tragedy. But ultimately, there are so many questions that need to be answered. And thank you to Dwight McKee for walking us through some of the questions that we still have. I think we have a lot of news to process over the next few days. And as he's laid to rest today, let's all be prayerful in our thoughts.
Amen. Mark Fancher, got about a minute and a half for you.
Well, the continuing concern that I have is that so many hope that by filing civil litigation, that is one way of holding everybody who's involved accountable. And unfortunately, the way the law is structured and the way that business is conducted in most municipalities, even if you sue the police officers, the emergency response personnel, and whoever else is involved, that more often than not, if not always, those individuals who are most culpable, those who are the ones who administered the beating, those who were actually on the front lines, on the ground, doing all the things that everybody's upset about, they never have to pay a dime. Because when there's a settlement or there's a judgment that's entered against them, the municipality usually indemnifies these individuals. And so the practical result of civil litigation very often is that the people who did the worst, who committed the worst acts, those who are most culpable, never have to pay a dime. It's the rest of us. It's the taxpayers who end up paying for their misdeeds because the money comes out of the municipal treasury. And that is a fatal flaw in the system that we have, and one that is a matter of continuing concern to those who hope that by litigation we will in some way provide incentive to public employees, most specifically police, to reform their conduct.
C.K. Hoffler, I got about a minute before we go to break. I mean, well, you know what, Dwight? Got a minute before we go to break. What you got to say? I know C.K. won't. We all want to hear what you got to say.
We want to hear what else the white has to say.
Well, the more I listen, the less it sounds like a random stop, and the more it sounds like a strategic hit. I couldn't figure out how this kid, who was running away from 5 or 6 old overweight policemen who couldn't really stay still, how he, 100 yards from his mother's house, got caught. And now I see that the reason they were able to catch him 100 yards is less than the length of a football field, is that they had a sky cam. He was being followed by a helicopter or a drone. This guy was being pursued. This guy was a victim of a strategy to take him out. And so when you look at all the evidence, a unit who's in a part of town where there's not a high crime unit, the fact that they are not a unit that even is equipped to do traffic stops, the fact that they all were able to focus on him at the same time and jump out and beat him down with no questions being asked, and how they staged the fact that he was resisting arrest, knowing that they had him in such a way that he could not resist arrest, the more it looks like a strategic hit to me. And I think that these charges, when the evidence is set up, will be upgraded from second degree to first degree murder. I think it was premeditated. And that's why I said that the issue is not as much as was he having an affair with the policeman's ex-girlfriend, as much as did the policeman believe that he was having an affair. So that it could be true or not true, but if he believed that, and he was trying to exact vengeance, and using his homeboy for the purposes of exacting.
No, hold that thought. Hold that thought. I got to run to this break. Back in just a moment. More of the Santita Jackson Show. Sorry, Dwight. Got a hard break because I have other stations. But you know, you can keep talking.
That's okay.
Because people want to hear. Ooh.
The more suspect it looks and it becomes, this was not an accident that went awry.
I'm with you. And when you lay it out like that, I mean, CK, Mark, Aaron, Daryl, it is sounding like this was a hit. That's what I mean. I can say that right here, you know, and that's just speculation on my part, but it's just not that these pieces are they fit too neatly. This is not a poor area where they were, where it was high crime. No, this is a solidly middle class area where the Scorpions would not be at all. And they were, and if you notice, we have video, not just body cams, we have videos from the sky. And it's like, what? Wow. And nobody would administer aid. Not the EMTs when they arrive on the scene, when it becomes their scene, nobody would do anything. Oh, wow.
Preston never got out the car. She never got out the car.
Unbelievable. Anybody got anything to say behind that, y'all?
I think when the evidence, when we get more evidence centered on this, I think you're exactly. I think it was premeditation. I believe they're going to be charged from a criminal standpoint with the highest crime possible, and lesser included crimes too. Because I think that there's with this type of beating, it almost is like a gang beating. Your dad called it yesterday a goon beating.
Yeah, but what about Preston Hemphill? What about him? Hello?
What about who?
Preston Hemphill. You know, the young white police officer who was shielded everybody.
He should be charged. He's facing the same charges as everyone else. I mean, if we look at the George Floyd case and how that was prosecuted, those officers who
stand by pontificating, whispering maybe we should do it. They have to be held accountable as well. So I think everybody in the chain of command, certainly in the civil case, but 30 seconds, civil case, law enforcement will be held accountable. They will attempt to be held accountable with charges.
Okay, CK, we're out. CK, we're out at 57.
It would be a conspiratorial liability, and they'd all be charged with the same crime
They should
for
be.
being part of the same scheme, same network, the same collective activity. So
They
on the criminal side of it, if they were not police officers, they would all be charged with the same degree.
Hold on, we're coming right into it, and you're speaking, of course, as someone who's been an elected official. So stand by.
Stand by, about to come back.
Stand by. CK, we're out at 57.
Okay.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, Legal Q&A with CK. We're going to have John Nichols on Friday to talk about this case and what's happening with Ilhan Omar and these other Democrats who have been removed from these important committees. Wow, and they're really going after Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman from Minneapolis. Wow, can't wait to talk about that. And everyone, you know what? I just have to say this before we switch back into this. The other day I had just a wonderful experience. I went to one of my favorite restaurants in the world. It's called Pearl's Restaurant. And it's a great soul food restaurant here in Chicago. I believe, Dwight, it's on 39th, just off Michigan Avenue. And it is owned by a guy I went to. I don't know if you know that the owner, JR, and I were in kindergarten together. That's part of the reason that I go, and my father goes, my whole family, we all go, oh yeah. He and I were in kindergarten together. And I just had such a great time. Not only did I have a great time, but I got some great food. I love their succotash. I go there for succotash and pork chops and macaroni and cheese and everything. So everybody get on over there because we love that restaurant. And I'm going to have him on next week because they are looking for servers. And believe it or not, these servers make a lot of money, but people are not willing to go in and do that work now in this post-pandemic world. So we and I are going to be talking about that next week. But I just thought about that because I think I wanted some grits and some pork chops. Oh, CK, Legal Q, and I was having a foodie moment. CK, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh.
When we're talking about we were talking about the legal applications, what does it mean legally? What does it mean socially? What could happen? I think we need to pause a little bit about the charges, what they can expect in terms of charges. I think our guest who's from there, who has law enforcement background and who's been in government, who has government background, was making a comment at a break. And I think we should talk about what types of charges would be appropriate. My belief is that the highest criminal charges available out there should be put on each one of those officers that beat him, as well as the officers of law enforcement that stood by watching and pontificating.
And CK, before we do that, you know what? We have a call from South Carolina, Daniel. I just saw that come up. And CK, if you don't mind, let's hear what he has to say, okay?
Absolutely.
Daniel from South Carolina, what's on your mind?
Exactly the topic you were talking about. And if I may first slightly digress with the reason I'm calling is I was listening to MSNBC, and I don't know if I should be happy or pissed off by the fact that law enforcement officials are saying the problem is there's a lower standard of hiring, and I don't mean hire because of the left, and that's not about the left, I got rid of. But they're saying that because of the left, they can't get good quality people. Because the pressure from the left is saying the left does not want cops beating minorities anymore. And I'm sorry, but that's good. I mean, if people are not becoming police because they can't beat minorities, that's a victory. All right? So I don't know if I should be upset that they're trying to blame us or happy that that's the time it's working. So, to agree with CK, the before I was a cop, I was a firefighter EMT. So, if I stand there and watch a guy die, I am a trained professional. That's a failure to act. That's negligence. There's all kinds of stuff that I am liable for, and we know that. To counter what another one of your callers said, it really doesn't matter if he was having an affair with the cop's ex-girlfriend. Nothing warrants what we saw. So, if I'm a cop and you try to fight me, I can defend myself. I can't beat you up. That's police brutality. I am able to go one level above you. So, if you and I get into a fight, and I, get on top of you, the fight's over. The fight's over. My job is to cuff you, not to continue beating. There is no circumstance. If Tyree Nichols was guilty of murder, I can't beat him. I can't shoot him. My job is not to deliver quote-unquote justice. My job is to get them to a day court. All right? So there is, nothing matters except for the fact that they beat a guy to death. All right?
You said that's the bottom line. They beat a guy to death for you. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, but no crime that he committed has a street death sentence. There is no such thing as a street death sentence. The only reason I can give you deadly force is if you were trying to kill me or you were trying to kill someone else. Clearly, we didn't have that. All right, I'm not saying that the reason for the stop is wrong. I don't know anything about the reason for the stop. But I watched a video where two cops hold the guy while other cops take turns beating the guy. There's no justification for that. And I think the highest bar for assault would be AD line. They don't have that. We might be able to go to the top of the pages where assault battery behind aggravated nature. The rest of them, I would give every one of them AD first. Even if they were holding him, even if they were standing by. And what pisses me off is this is why I became a cop. I became a cop after George Floyd because I am not going to hold a guy down while another cop kills him. I'm not going to hold another guy up while another cop beats him. And I told everyone I work with this, I will have your back, but I'm not going to do this sort of thing. So, this is open except my business.
You've just said a whole lot. I mean, Dwight, he resonated with you. Why?
Because he, as a policeman, understands his responsibility as a policeman, and which it seems to be fairly rare these days. He seems to be really about protecting the public, and as opposed to protecting the police. And even though I think the police need to be protected, I don't think that they have to be abusive to protect themselves. And so I just congratulate him that he had enough.
Well, speaking of which, there you go. That's all right. CK, you pick it up from here. I'm so glad we were able to get him in.
I am too, Santita. It's important to share the side of law enforcement. We do have some very good, wonderful police officers and law enforcement out there who are fighting the good fight every day, who understand what excessive use of force is, who understand the rules, and they live by the rules. Unfortunately, it is those officers who don't that put a stain and cast aspersions, put really a stain on the profession, and that we have to look out for. And that's why we have to put in place, I believe, federal measures. One, so there's continuity and consistency of laws. While the president and them and people on the Hill are debating all these different things, they should be, again, debating and passing a George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that would address some of the issues that we saw in this case. Yet again. I mean, it reeks of just negligence that members of Congress are not doing more to pass a federal law that would address these issues. They need to get back at the table. They need to introduce, because they get now introduce new legislation to get this done. But they're not going to feel the pressure to get it done in their communities, people don't think it's a priority. It should be a priority. How many times are we going to have to speak and hear on TV and do legal commentary and dissect and analyze the various deviations of standard of care, policing practices, negligence, criminal negligence, civil negligence? We could go on. I could drop a 110-page complaint behind all of the wrongdoing in this case. And I'm being serious about that. There's so many different angles, and that is a tragedy. That is tragic. It's a travesty that it continues on. So I'm glad that this police officer stood up and is making these comments because he does understand his responsibilities, as Dwight McKee said. And I think that's what we need. We need more law enforcement stepping up, standing up, and understanding their responsibilities. I believe the chief of police understood the responsibilities immediately, but for her prompt and swift action, we may not be at this point. Eventually, the evidence will come out, but we may not be at this point. But I'd like to hear what the panel thought about this officer who just spoke. I thought he made some excellent comments that we need to bring into the discussion.
Okay. Well, CK, call him out.
Daryl, I know you have something to say about that.
Oh, absolutely, CK. And, again, I commend the officer for standing his ground and standing his principle with regards to, what he would do if he saw his fellow officers doing something that was illegal. That's what we need every officer to be able to do, is to take that stand. And I tell you, very interestingly, if he took the opposite stand, in the state of Tennessee, they have what's called the felony murder rule. So, when during the break, we're talking about the conspiratorial liability of the officers and what they should all be charged with. Well, under this felony murder rule, what would happen is this, is that it did not have to be the intention of the officers going in to kill somebody for them to be charged with charged as a felony murder, all of them. The only thing that was required is that they had to know that they were committing a felony at the very beginning of what was going on, which is what I think Kendall was doing when he's pulling this guy out of the car for no reason and commences to try to tase him. And so that begins the felony. Once that felony begins, everybody that's part of this chain of activities becomes part of the felony murder rule, and they can all be charged with a felony murder. And I think that's what Dwight McKee was making reference to holding all the officers equally accountable. That, I think, is what applies in this particular case. So hearing the caller call in and say that, he would be the one to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do this. This is wrong, and I'm turning on you guys for doing it. I'm going after you guys. That's precisely what should have happened with the Tyree Nichols case, which is why we ended up where we ended up in this case, because none of the officers had the guts, the integrity to stand up and do the right thing.
Well, Mark Fancher, your thoughts?
Well, I join in applauding the officer who chooses to demonstrate courage and to say what's right and hopefully to do what's right. But I think that at bottom, that's what the big problem is that there's cowardice at every level. There's cowardice on the street by police officers who see crimes being committed by their fellow officers and they're unwilling to speak out. They're not courageous enough to do that. And there's certainly cowardice among the politicians and elected officials who know better. They recognize that the system of policing that we have generally is not what communities need. We no longer need that. We never needed it, but we definitely don't need it in light of the recent history of so many Black people in particular losing their lives or being jailed unlawfully or being beaten or in other ways suffering at the hands of police officers. If they know, because they're in elected positions and they run governments, they understand that the types of emergencies that most communities face do not require the kinds of people who populate police departments. They know that most of the emergencies that their citizens are dealing with are things that involve drug overdoses, conflicts and squabbles between neighbors, people who are having mental health emergencies, homeless people, things like that. That's what most of the calls that come into the police are for. And the officers who are inclined or predisposed to commit the kinds of crimes that were committed against Tyree Nichols are not the people who are appropriate to respond to that. But these officials, these politicians, don't have the courage to take a stand and to say we're going to remake our public safety agency, because so many of them campaign on a call for cracking down on crime. And they exaggerate, inflate the threat that's posed by violent crime. And in order for them to get votes and to scare voters into voting for them, they create a threat that does not necessarily exist. And after they're elected, they can't then do an about face and say, you know, things aren't what I said they were during the campaign. And so they make good on maintaining the same type of law enforcement operations that we've had for generations. So what's called for right now is an end to cowardice and some return to courage by all of those who are in any way involved with this system.
Aaron Connolly. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm processing all of this through the eyes of what we hear from the candidates for mayor of Chicago right now, and comparing what their policies look like for our ideal police services.
Well, hold on. Well, let's go right there. What about, because we have two candidates, prominent candidates, who are campaigning on law and order. What do you, yeah, I mean, because I know you're edging up to it. Let's go right to the heart of it.
Well, and we saw the Fraternal Order of Police release their endorsements this week as well in the city of Chicago, too, right? So I think it's really important as voters are coming into the last 28 days before the first cycle in these municipal elections of what this means for your city, what policies are in place in your city, how much is being paid out currently for police misconduct and violence, and what is the plan to look at our police system as a whole, fill the gaps that are necessary, but instead of doubling down on people's fear of crime, which is technically down in the city of Chicago, despite the mail that you may be receiving in your mailbox, and despite the feeling that is whipped up in this city, to make sure that people can use this as an issue in this election, right? And so I encourage everybody that's looking at this the same way and asking these hard questions. What is the plan? Are these candidates proposing that police go through the same training that doesn't seem to be working, that produces hours-long waits for emergency situations? Do they want to hire more officers under this same system without making any changes? Or are they serious, really serious about asking the hard questions and looking at this budget in a way that can make some changes and make everyone in our city safer, whether you're pulled over by police, whether you're calling police for an issue in your neighborhood, or whether that police officer is in your neighborhood school and you're worried about how your kids are being treated. So there's so many issues I'm looking at right now, but I'm zeroing in on the city of Chicago and the choice that we have to make coming up, and who is going to lead ultimately this very powerful, very wealthy department that obviously in every city in America can kill you if it's not managed properly, right? And we're thinking about that young man today and his family, and hearing him cry out for his mom is etched in my heart, Santita, and I can't unhear it. It's terrible.
Wow. What did you say? You can't unhear it. No. I mean, you're a mom. I mean, you're like, you can't unhear it. And when you hear him whether he was a grown man or a child, hear him screaming for his mama. Goodness gracious, Mark Fancher, it's a whole lot.
It really is. And, I think that particularly on a day like today, when Tyree Nichols is being laid to rest, that we keep in mind that for him as an individual, he has gone to glory. There is a video of him skateboarding that is going viral on YouTube. And, even though he's on a skateboard, he looks like he's flying. And he had amazing skills, but it was really poetry in motion. And I think we have to remember that God blessed his soul. He blessed him while he was on this earth, and that he has blessed him even more in a heavenly realm. And he is literally flying now through a glorious heaven. So we celebrate him, and we celebrate the glory that he has gone to. But I think it's a time to mourn, not for Tyree Nichols, but to mourn for our society, because while his quote-unquote death really represents eternal life for him, our society, as Dr. King predicted, is approaching, if it has not already reached, a spiritual death. And I think that it requires some reflection on all of our part about where we stand in terms of our relationship to our Creator and what He wants for us and who He wants us to be. And I think that if we think about it long enough and hard enough, we'll come to the conclusion that we have not been measuring up, that there's a whole lot more that all of us need to do in order to demonstrate more courage, more commitment, to try and bring about a different type of a reality for those of us who are going through what is indeed a national nightmare.
It is a national nightmare. I mean, you got it, CK.
Well, Santita, I know as we're wrapping up, I'd like everybody to just very quickly say, where do we go from here? What's next?
And
Starting with Dwight.
absolutely, and everybody, you got 30 seconds, so we got 2 minutes.
I think his mom just hit it on the head. I think it really violence started in his spirit, and that until we really spiritually learn to study war no more, until we spiritually learn to love our neighbor and to love ourselves, till we make a spiritual adjustment and our accountability, not just to society, but to God and ourselves, we'll keep being in the same circle, operating in the brutality and the simple nature of man. I think it really starts to be reborn again and recommit to those tenements of the patriarchs, of whether it's Buddha, whether it's Christ, whether it's Allah. It's those great religious leaders that tell us that we all one brotherhood, this brotherhood of man, and we hold ourselves accountable unto that fact.
Well, you know what? Let's Aaron?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm just a little more emotional this morning than I was expecting with this conversation. And I thank Attorney Fancher for that beautiful image. I think of this young man skateboarding into the sunset. I think those are the pieces that I'm trying to hold on to. This has been a tough week to describe news to children and asking some of these hard questions about why someone who doesn't do something wrong ends up hurt like this. So sorry for coming in a little late there, but I had some questions going on with my 9-year-old as to why this person had to die and that it doesn't seem fair. So there's going to be a lot of big talks in families this week, and I think holding on to that prayerful mindset and coming back to the fact that this is not just about police policy, but this is a family, that this is a young man whose life was extinguished, this is a father, and coming back to the humanity that we often let slip away, and certainly these officers let slip away when this young man was in front of them, and they had a duty of care to protect him.
And did not observe it. CK, I've got less than a minute for you.
Well, Tyree could have been Ozzy and AJ, my son. That's
why, for me, every day is a fight for this. We've got to do better. Certainly spiritual refocusing, but also pushing our members of Congress to pass federal legislation. Accountability, where we can actually also, forgive me for being a lawyer, but sue police officers, hold them accountable, not just have insurance policies to take care of them. Accountability can change behavior, but we also have to be recentered spiritually, without a question.
Amen to that. Amen to that. You know what? If you all want to stick around for a couple minutes after we get off of WCPT, you can do that. But everybody, please like and share this show on YouTube and on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Pass it along and pray for Tyree Nichols' family. The last photographs he took just before they killed him, the police killed him, were of the sunset. And he is, as you said, Reverend Mark Fancher, he is gone on to glory, because that is eternal life. But while we're down here in this life, what have we learned? What are we learning? What are we teaching? Think about that, everybody. What if this were your son, your brother, your husband, your partner? What if? Think about that. No one deserves what happened to him. Nobody. And what about what's on the minds, what's on the consciences of those police officers? I hope this is. I don't want them to have lost their humanity either. I want them to regain it. God bless you, everybody. Thank you, Henry, for a great show. Love you. God bless you. Until tomorrow, be well. Be blessed. CK, you all want to say anything real quick? I'm going to have to run.
I have to run, Santita, but thank you for a great show. Everybody, amazing guest, very moving. And Mark Stancher, I don't know if you're a minister, but we're promoting you to minister, Reverend Doctor.
The Reverend Doctor.
No, don't do that. Y'all haven't seen me on a Saturday night on the corner.
That's all right. No, we see them. Oops, did I say that? Okay. I mean, the greatest saviors are the greatest sinners. How about that, please? Yes. that's the way it works, honey. That's the way it works. But I'm so glad that you all were here today.
Race and Terry's mother and father. His mother is a real woman of God, and is as graceful and as elegant as anybody I've ever seen. In this kind of situation, who says she's just not praying for her family, she's praying for the family of her officers.
Yeah.
And you only can have that kind of grace if you were spiritually connected.
Absolutely.
She's a very divine lady, so I'm praying for her.
Absolutely. And praying that we can all get to that space and place. You know, praying for his father. Everyone calls him the stepfather. That was his daddy. And he covers his family. And as they were watching those tapes, he stopped the viewing. He said, I don't want my wife to see anymore. I'm not going to let her do that. I'll watch it. I'll bear the brunt. Let us not forget, as we talk about these Black mothers, let us not forget these Black fathers who love their children, who in the corporate media have been slammed and who've been diminished. And we are told every day that they don't love their children. That is a lie. That's a lie. He was from a loving family. And you know what? These people have not destroyed it. Given the woman of God and the man of God that his parents were, Dwight, they're going to be more godly. They're going to be more of a family. I know they're going to turn this minus into a plus. But oh boy, must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? Oh no, there's a cross for everyone. One for you and one for me. This is our cross. It's for all of us, everybody. We're all Tyree's mother. We're all Tyree's father. We're Tyree's brother. We're Tyree's siblings. We're Tyree's child. We are Tyree. But for the grace of God, go any of us. And I don't care what your color is. This happened to Michael Bell, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy up in up in Wisconsin. This police officer, he had just had a little fun, 21 years old. Just, a little tipsy. got out of the car, and and the police said to the police officers, he had the presence of mind to turn on his phone. He said, no, I know my rights. Father, very high-ranking man in the military. And he got into a tussle with the police officer. The mother and his sister ran out the house. His mom and his sister ran out the house. Two white folks. And they said, hey, what's going on? The police officer put the gun on to his temple, and it wouldn't fire. Then this man in front of his mama and his sister pulled the gun an inch away and blew his brains out. Who does that? Are you serious? This is not right. And Dr. King said it. We are approaching spiritual death. We've militarized our society. We put more in military and militarism than we do in social uplift. He said, if we continue to do this, you're going to kill the society. We will be approaching spiritual death. Is this not what this is? Think about that. Everybody, think about it. We can't go on like this. It's unacceptable, and it's unsurvivable. Yes, Jewel, my Lord, God have mercy on all of us. Because there are people who think that the police were right. I heard it on C-SPAN this weekend. If he just would have complied, I said he still would have died. What? All he asked was, why are you pulling me over? What's going on? That's all he did. That's what? Yes, CK? Oh.
I did on my show yesterday, one of the callers called in and said, well, I just want to know, if I get stopped by the police and they tell me to step out of my car, do I have to step out of my car?
Thank you.
And it was just sort of a basic question. And this is how I responded. You have to live to see another day, to be able to fight whether legally they have the right to do that or not. You have to live. So my recommendation would be to step out of your car. When people are stopped by the police, they know if you're black, particularly if you're a black man, and a black woman too, but particularly for the statistics for black men, they know they may have less than a 50% chance of living through that experience. Those are incredible odds. That's why people, when they see situations, they run. Many people, and unfortunately, some of them don't survive to talk about why they ran. Having nothing to do with whether they were engaged in criminal activity. On a traffic stop, you may not be engaged in criminal activity. You may have just, your light might be out. You may have something hanging from your light that's impermissible under state law. You may have a ticket, an outstanding ticket. All of these things. You shouldn't have to die for that. So it's so important for people to understand they have to live through the experience. Now's the time to want to explain to the law enforcement why they are doing the right thing or not. They have to live through the experience and be very, 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 very contrite. But even in being contrite, you may die.
That's the point, CK. You can be doing all of that. Yeah, it's like you're doing all of that, and then they kill you anyway. It's like, what?
Anyway.
Now, mind you, I'm with you, CK. Jump on that side now. Do everything you can. Oh, man. Girl.
But so it's not just a question of compliance. You can comply all you want and still die. You cannot comply, and you likely will die. Oh. But even when you comply, it can still happen. So for me, I just suggest prayer. My voice was stopped. I know what I'm talking about. I just prayed the whole time for them to live. I didn't pray for them. I prayed for them to just live through the experience. Oh. That's a hell of a thing to have to do every day when you have teenagers. That's crazy to me. That's crazy.
And it has been this way. If you go to the lynching museum in Alabama, when they opened it, they had more than 5,000 representations. I said, okay, we've been 400 years. That's 4,800 months. That's more than a lynching a month that they've been able to find when they opened up the museum, and they have added. Are you serious?
all the ones that were unaccounted for? That were
Girl,
reported.
I said those are the ones they were able to confirm, right?
Your retribution.
Yeah, girl. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Y'all got to come up with something better about Tyree and everybody else. You can't do this. You can't. No. It's unacceptable. And Aaron, I understand why you were so emotional. She got a little boy. She said, what if my son was crying for me and I couldn't do anything? I couldn't get to him. That's, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Oh boy, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. His parents shouldn't be at the funeral today. They shouldn't. His mama shouldn't have had to see him in the hospital, and his daddy shouldn't have had to see him in the hospital looking like that. No, y'all. No. This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. No. And these police officers and the EMTs, they were all wrong. And his death is on their hands and it's on their heads. And all you have to do is walk a mile in someone else's shoes. The Bible tells you, doesn't suggest, you got to love your neighbor as yourself. First, the commandment is to love. It ain't no suggestion. You ain't supposed to treat nobody this way. You're not supposed to do it. It's just wrong. You're not supposed to do this. I can't make it any more plain than that. This is just ungodly. It's wrong. What if God was one of us, just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home? What if God is in all of us? And when you kill him, when you murder him, you murdering God. Shame on you. Now come through the shame and the blame and come up a little higher and be a human being. God did not make you into a murderer. The world did that. Get out of that. Enough. Tired of burying kids. Tired of seeing mamas and daddies cry over these caskets and siblings and children. Tired of it. Aren't you? Must it happen to you before you feel something? This is inhumane. This is just wrong, and we're not supposed to be living like this. We got to stop. Enough. Does anyone else have anything else? I'm sorry, I went off, and I'm full. And so I understood Aaron when we got to you, and you couldn't say anything. I understood her not being able to say anything. I got it. Oh.
Thank you. I have to run.
Love you, girl.
Thank you for a great show, great opportunity. Okay.
Oh, love you. Anybody else there? Dwight, Mark, Aaron, Daryl? If not, I'm going to go. And I love you all, everybody. Be prayerful today. And that's right. Love one another. Oh, I'm sorry, Dwight. You want to say something before you go?
Let's pray for the healing of the country.
Oh, boy. Yes, that's what we need. You know, the Clark sisters have a wonderful song, Pray for the USA. The great Twinkie Clark wrote that song. We need to pray for the USA. We need to pray. But we've been so blessed as a nation. And we have spread damnation over every single blessing. And God continues to give us opportunities to get up out of this. And we just keep on going down, further down the rabbit hole. Oh, no. Someone said to me, one of our listeners, they said, I appreciate the fact that you're a believer. Then someone else said, well, it kind of bothers me that you go into that on the show. And I said, I hear you. I said, but I can't do anything else. God, I know too much about God to doubt God. I know too much about God, and God's been too real to me for me not to talk about God. And for me not, the older I get, I'm trying to get closer. What's the song say, Dwight? I'm too close to heaven. Oh, I can't turn around now. To my journey's end, I'm too close. I'm too close to seeing my great grandmama again, who would stand at the pearly gates if I get in and say, Why didn't you help? My grandmama Helen, my grandma Gertrude, why didn't you speak up, Santita? You know that was wrong. I got some of my best friends over there. Girl, you know you should have said something. You say things about other things. We can't stand by and let this injustice continue, everybody. One day, if you keep on living, it will be you. It will be someone you love. I promise you before God it's going to happen. Because that's the way the world works. It keeps turning. We are under the same sun that Adam and Eve saw. Ain't nothing changed. God ain't changed. And God will not be mocked. You can't do this. It's not right. Beating that man to death. Beating that boy to death. Come on, yo. You're not supposed to blow a hole in the chest of Ahmaud Arbery. You ain't got the right to do that. And then have your friends, the prosecutor, say, "Go wash your hands. Just go on home. We're gonna work it out." Are you serious? No, yo. No. You got to be under the jail because you're not even sorry. Derek Chauvin is appealing his conviction. He doesn't think he was wrong to choke the hell out of George Floyd. He doesn't think he was wrong. He's appealing his conviction. Think about that. They took Dylan Roof after he killed everybody in Mother Emanuel's church. They took him to Burger King because he was hungry. What? Yo, come on. What? No. This ain't right. How did I say it's not right? It ain't right. It is wrong, and we need to fight wrong and be on the right side of God. Don't ask God to get on your side. God's much bigger than you. You get on God's side and just be right. Be a good person. And when you see injustice, have enough God in you to stand up to it. That's why we talked about this today. And we're going to keep on talking about it until some change comes. Love you, everybody. Love you, Dwight. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Not a thing.
It's a lot. All right. Love y'all. Love you. See you tomorrow.